Hello, hello, everyone. I am Michael Schneider, TV editor at Variety, and thanks for coming out. The Sharks are in the building, so yes, excited to talk about season 14. It was a big season for these folks, but every season's big for all of them. So why don't I introduce them to you right now, and we will get going. First off, the executive producers of Shark Tank, Clay Newbill. Also, Yoon Lingner. Nice job. Nice job, Clay. And then, of course, we have the Sharks themselves, the investors and executive producers, the one and only Mark Cuban. And, of course, Daymond John. Appeared as a guest shark this season, Kendra Scott. And a success story coming out of Shark Tank as well. We'll get into it. He's the co-founder and CEO of Beatbox Beverages, Justin Fenchel. Well, thank you all. I know you're all super busy, so it's great to get you all here to the ATX Television Festival. Let's kick things off by sharing a few stats first off, because season 14, which airs Friday nights at 8 p.m. on ABC, we're now up to $190 million in deals throughout the 14 seasons. Clay, is that? Test.
As I said back in the room in our pre-meeting, I was told there'd be no math today.
No math.
But yeah, we've done, I think the biggest number probably is that cumulatively the retail sales of all the companies that have ever come on the show in our 14 years now has surpassed, it's over $8 billion.
So this is its own economy.
It is. Of course, we had Doorbot come on and pitch many years ago, which eventually became Ring, and which was bought by Amazon for over $1 billion. So that takes a big chunk of it right there. And Daymond can speak to one of his companies.
Bombay Sox does 1 billion of those 8 billion in sales.
Not bad.
But we've had over 1,000 pitches, well over 1,000 pitches. We have tens of thousands, roughly approximately 20,000 people apply for the show every year. So we're super excited to continue going. We just finished up our 14th season. Our finale just aired a couple weeks ago, and it was another incredible season for us.
Yeah, and it's funny, we've been doing these panels off and on for years. I remember doing a panel with you guys 10 years ago, early on in the process, and marveling at the success of this show. And here we are 14 years later. When you all sort of look back at maybe those early episodes, those early seasons, and compare it to now, what strikes you the most, Mark, in how the show's changed?
That it lasted. I remember Clay invited me on to come on as a guest shark in season 2 to do 3 episodes. And I'm thinking, this show is bouncing around. Like, if Desperate Housewives isn't on Sunday night, they replaced it, and Tuesday night and Friday night. I mean, this show is not going to last. So I'm just going to go on there, do my 3 episodes, and raise as much hell as possible. And here we are 14 years later.
Yeah.
I have to say this, and very few people know this. The show stayed on the air, good, obviously, because of the amazing stuff that Cuban, the team has done, the producers, because America voted for it. But it was in jeopardy for the first 3 years because people didn't understand it. We were trying to go on TVs, and they said, well, are you in the tank with sharks? Or is it Shark Week?
Still get that every now and then.
Who makes the money? Who wins? And I got to tell you, I'm probably the only one who can say this because I was here from the beginning. All those known business celebrities, they turned down the show. Clay Yoon and Mark Burnett said, we don't want celebrities that are, nothing wrong with this dancing and singing and doing the thing they do, but they have a day job. And real people like you will not believe they're operating businesses afterwards. Mark comes on the show being the tech guy and says, this is the top show, watch kids 5 to 15. and parents and kids together, he went on to the talk shows of the world who said, I don't know who a Robert or a Daymond or a Barbara is at that time. He brought the attention onto the show, and he said, if this is going to help America, I will stay on this show as long as possible if this is helping our children. And he's the one who kept the show, who helped the show along with America.
Yeah, we're not going that far.
You helped the show, you greatly helped the show when everybody else had an ego to say, I don't want to sit up there with those bozos that nobody knows. They were talking about
That's
Kevin and
because I didn't
Barbara.
know how big
They
of
weren't talking
bozos
about
you
me, they
were.
were talking about Kevin and Barbara. All right, anyway, that's enough of giving. Now I'm going to hate you after that, but other than that, that's good.
That ends the complimentary portion of this panel. But Kendra, you were mentioning early on that as a young entrepreneur, you were watching those early seasons of Shark Tank and being inspired by it.
I was. I mean, I started my business out of the extra bedroom of my house here in Austin, Texas, with just $500 and a newborn baby. I was taking my jewelry boutique to boutique in a tea box, and I had so many struggles as a new mom, doing a business out of my home. And I remember watching Shark Tank and just seeing these like inspirational entrepreneurs, and they were in my shoes and they were going through these things. And then they had these amazing business owners, you know, giving them the time, giving them the platform to share their excitement about entrepreneurship. And it really gave me fuel as a young entrepreneur. Now to have an over $1 billion brand with over 130 stores, this show is an inspiration to me and so many entrepreneurs. And there's so many today that are now sitting in this other position where they can become investors and invest in the future of entrepreneurship. So Shark Tank inspired me, and I think it continues just to inspire people all over the world.
Yeah, Yoon, are you starting? Yeah, shout out to. It has changed the conversation about entrepreneurship, and also it's given people incentive to really do things. Have you found that now that the show has been on for 14 years, a lot of the folks who are applying to be on Shark Tank were kids watching the show perhaps, or were teenagers watching the show early days, and that sort of has led to this entrepreneurial spirit?
Well, I think why the show is so popular is, and because it's so universal, everybody has a business idea. You could be a stay-at-home mom, you could be a kid. I mean, kids are the most entrepreneurial, the lemonade stand, I mean, and to be able to see these, they have an idea and it's like, oh, I could do that too. And I think what's incredible about the Sharks is that they're self-made. So it's not like it's just rich people handing out money. It's, you can see that they had an idea. What are the trials and tribulations that they went through, and what's their story, and how can I do that? So it's like it's the ultimate aspirational show.
Yeah, and it's good to point out. I mean, this is not a game show. They're not just giving money away. This is, you have to do.
No, it's
work.
our money. Yeah, it really is our money. And we really don't know anything about them when they walk in the door. They just tell us their names, and we listen and we make the decision about what we're going to do. But I think Daymond brought it up why I do the show, and I think all of us do, is because it sends the message that the American dream is alive and well. The country goes through its ups and downs. What makes this country different than every other country in the universe is that we are a country of entrepreneurs. Everybody, like you said, has that dream of starting a business and really having it turn into something. We've all had that idea that's gotten us excited. And with Shark Tank, it shows you that someone can come from Austin, someone can come from Idaho, someone can come from Indiana, wherever, start out of their garage, maybe make it onto the carpet, and then turn into something like Kendra has, like Justin has, that's beyond our wildest dreams. And we show that every week, all the time. And you just don't get that reinforcement of something good on television like that anymore. And so that's really what makes it.
I could speak to the opportunity that was created from Shark Tank. I mean, we went on in season 6 in 2014.
Season 6?
Season 6. It's coming up on 9 years, Mark, almost to the day. We had our idea for a party version of boxed wine. We were doing about 200,000 in sales in our first 14 months, making it ourselves, trying to get going, preparing for Shark Tank. We walked out of there with $1 million investment from Mark on the show, which was absolutely incredible. And flash forward to today, we have 135 employees across all 50 states, and we're going to do almost 105 million in revenue this year.
Wow.
I'd say that's pretty good.
I mean, I think that, Mark, you elaborated on it being the American dream. I mean, let's really consider what we're thinking about here is just that it's the only show that I see that you can all gather around the TV from generation to generation. And, as I travel the country, 90% of this country, it's the greatest country on the planet, and 90% of us have so much more in common than we have apart. It's only 10% of these bad people trying to rip us apart. And when you get there and you look at Shark Tank, it's just that rug is just the American dream. It doesn't matter about any of your political, no other issues. And that's why I think it's the American dream. It really is truly, a platform for all Americans to come together.
Yeah, Daymond, I've got 6 children now, 9 to 21.
6?
Yes.
How do you have time for a business?
I know. 9 to 21. So elementary, middle school, high school, and college. It is the only show that I know of where our entire family can sit in the family room together, eat pizza, watch it, and everyone is engaged, everyone's excited, everyone talks about it together afterwards. I have never seen a show, and I still don't have any other show we can do that with. We have a divided household a lot of times because...
And you can debate over it because your children will
Yes.
say, Mommy and Daddy, you don't know about that. And we can say, you don't know about that, right?
Right.
But prior to 10, 15 years ago, did you ever hear of royalties and margins and various other things?
We still wish we never heard of royalties.
Or perpetuity. That's a word that I had to explain to my 9-year-old.
Perpetuity, yeah.
If I could add to that, it's like I'm often asked, why does the show work? Right? And there's so many reasons, and they're all represented up here. I mean, you've got sharks that, educate us. Shark Tank's one of those, I call it E2. Which is rare in television. It's entertaining and educational. We learn from it. We learn from these guys every day. They surprise us. We've been doing this show for 14 years. We sit in the truck and watch, and even after 14 years, you would have thought we'd seen all their tricks, but we haven't. They continue to educate us and surprise us every time. And Justin is a representative of, and this is why the show can continue for another 14 seasons. It's because people like Justin. Right, the entrepreneurs that have the courage to pursue that dream. It's in our Constitution, pursuit of happiness.
And I think we also
that's what people are doing.
Yeah,
people are coming on that rug, the great equalizer, as Daymond said. Right, doesn't matter who you are, where you're from, your backstory, whatever. I've got my shot. This is it. It's my chance to pitch the Sharks and change my life. And that's why this show, and it's 14 seasons, and we just finished season 14. We have people that are coming in that we've never seen before because people are always, like you said, always having ideas. I've got an innovative idea. I've got a new idea. I have an idea that's a better version of something that already exists. And that's why this show will be able to continue, because of people like Justin who have the courage to walk away from a 6-figure job that they hate going to every day because they want to pursue something where they can have the freedom to be their own boss.
To drink all day.
Yeah, just to go to. We really did it for music festivals.
That's why Shark Tank.
This
That's
is the
why Shark
product,
Tank works
Beatbox
so well.
Beverages. So
No,
get it at your local
he
convenience.
carries wine around in his backpack. I
you
mean,
have an
I'm like,
alcohol-
he brought one out. You gave
That's
me
the
one. It was
American
amazing.
dream.
It's a
It was
walking
amazing.
party.
It's
Beatbox
kind of
Beverages.
It's kind of a requirement when you have an alcohol company. You always have to show up with something, right? It's kind of the deal.
I like you. Yeah.
All right, I'm waiting for my free sample, but we'll talk after. Well, a couple of things, Clay, I want to add. A, your ratings will continue to be huge as long as Kendra's entire family is watching, because that's incredible. But also, you bring up a good point about season 14 and just the sheer number of people who are applying. And what are you finding now, going back sort of the question of what do you find now in season 14 that maybe has changed versus those early days of the show?
Well, I'd be interested. Let's let Yoon answer as well. But I would say we're looking for the same thing. It's the same as it ever was, as the song says, right? We're looking for an innovative idea. We're looking for a better version of something, right? And on the entrepreneur side, we're looking for somebody who has the courage to do this, that has the drive and the passion, that really believes in this idea and is to the point where they're willing to come in there. You got to remember, they're not just pitching the 5 sharks on the panel, they're pitching America. That takes a lot of guts. And these people aren't performers, right? They're not actors.
Oh, you can tell sometimes.
You can tell a lot of times, yeah.
It's a real business, and this is my real idea, and I've risked so much to do it.
Yeah, I mean,
and here I am pouring my guts out, my heart out. This is it. I believe. And do you believe in me?
I think it's a common misconception that, and I hear it all the time from people that think, oh, it was scripted, or this was some sort of did they make you say that and all that? I'm like, no, they only know your name. You walk in, you're nervous as hell, and there's no cuts, there's no edits, there's no double takes. It is what happens.
It's actually less reality than it really is because how long was your pitch?
Gosh, we kind of blacked out in there, but I think about an hour.
It's an hour being grilled by 4 morons and 1 genius. And it's hard. It's really difficult.
And he's the genius.
People often ask us, how do you keep the show fresh after 14 years? And I think what's so important for all of us is that the show stays authentic. And so we're not, season after season, we're not looking for like, oh, this year we're going to do this. It's the show is such an accurate reflection of what's going on in business. So the kind of companies that were coming in and the conversations that we were having in the early seasons is totally different than the conversations we're having now, just because time has changed.
Technology has changed.
And technology has like democratized so much. Like content creation is, like anybody can do it. And that's really affected business in that, the essence of business is really solving a problem. So many of the products and businesses that resonate so much are, I have this problem and I have this solution. And, you see all of these entrepreneurs coming in and they are, okay, so I have this problem. I can't keep my bag on my suitcase. And so I'm going to create an Instagram video showing this problem, and then I'm going to sell this product. And that's something that's so new that is such a reflection of what's going on now. I mean, TV and media has always been like gatekeepers of what's out there. Now, some of the gatekeeping has gone away because you can be your own influencer. You have all of these platforms where you make your own content. You can have millions of followers. There's so many famous people. It's like crazy now. And then you can sell product. So I just think that season after season, it's just so interesting how everything changes so much.
I think it's so accurate, and I think because if you really think about a show that you can watch and you can see somebody that was just like you, they either working a job, they're not, right? But think about season 1, right? We're going through the great recession, and then you're seeing how people are dealing with it. And all of a sudden, you keep starting to see the season. Then you see Instagram is taking off, and conversion there, and then everybody's spending money like Mark, like drunken sailors, and everybody's happy. And then
after drinking beatbox,
all of a sudden, it goes down. And what's a TikTok and how? And you literally can go right there and say, "That's what I should do right now with my business." You can take away the lessons that day and apply it to your business.
I mean, as an entrepreneur myself watching it, I was going into boardrooms, pitching my idea to raise capital. And this was a tech city when I started my company. So we just talked about how CPG is so big in Austin now, but it wasn't when I started. And doors were just being slammed in my face every day. Like they just didn't get it. And I would watch Shark Tank and I would see the vulnerability of these entrepreneurs going through the same thing, but on television with millions of people watching and going, oh my God, I can relate. This is what I'm doing. I'm walking into this room. They're getting drilled for an hour by some of the smartest people. All smart. I'm going to give you all smart. And I want them to still like me, okay? I'm not gonna. But it was amazing as an entrepreneur to watch this. And I learned about the pitch. I learned about what questions I might be asked that I needed to be prepared for. I wanted to really get that down so that when I walked into another room, another boardroom, I was ready and I was prepared. And it was learning. This is an educational show. Beyond just being something that's inspiring, it educates people every day. It educates my young children every day. So I think that's such a wonderful thing. And I, again, don't know any other show out there that has that quality like Shark Tank.
I can joke around as much as I want, but honestly, I learned the most from Shark Tank because, you may see me and Clay and you, and I got to tell you, they look at thousands of people prior. They go over the pitches many, many times. We can't know anything about it. They do a job all year round that we get the joy of sitting in a chair and analyzing these companies. But, you see me on there and I'm always like, and what I'm doing, I'm listening to it, and then all of a sudden I'm like, yeah, I'm going to get in. And then Cuban will say something so brilliant, and I'll go, oh yeah. And for that reason, I'm out. But I'm learning from them. I'm learning from the entrepreneurs doing business. If I didn't know Bomba Socks, I'd be still waiting for somebody at Macy's to maybe come to my office, maybe buy a shirt, maybe put it on the shelf somewhere. Maybe the kid in there takes it out, puts it on the rack. Maybe a mom buys it. And I wouldn't be giving away to those in need in the homeless community at the same time. So who do you think is learning more?
No, and Daymond brings up a great point with Bombas as an example. Things evolve on Shark Tank. And the way we approach deals and investments change as well. It depends on the economy and things that are going on. When Bombas came on and said, buy one, give one away, because the first thing that homeless people ask for and that they need the most is socks, Daymond set a trend for all of us then to turn around and say, okay, what's your social construct? What's your social consciousness for your business? Because we're not going to invest unless there's more than just a business here. What are you doing in your community? Who are you helping? Because it can't just be about how many socks do I sell? How many shirts do I sell? What else are you doing? So Daymond became part of a trend that we all learned from, that America learned from, and that truly has an impact. Like this shirt I'm wearing, Be a Better Human, that came from one of our companies, and the CEO, Griff, they build schools for girls in Afghanistan. And that's why I invested. And then he came out with this shirt, and it was like, okay, you're sending the message. That's who you are, and that's what the message you're trying to send. And by the way, it's great business. Yeah. Right? So the name of the company is Combat Flip Flops. Mm-hmm. And they now, instead, they came on to sell flip flops that they made in Afghanistan. Now they sell more shirts and build more schools and help more kids around the world. And it's just started because Daymond and Bombas set an example.
I tried it and I did the Bombas thing, but you know what? Your biggest investment and my biggest investment when I brought that home, you know what my kid said to me? That's right, Daddy. Because Daddy, you can give at the end of the year, but you know what? I gave 20 times a year. How do you give 20 times? You work in a pizza parlor. Every time I bought this, I helped clean up the ocean. Every time I bought this, I stopped human trafficking. And our biggest investment, our children, are now saying that to us, right? And we're seeing where if it's impressing my children and your children, then it's something we need to do. And that only comes from Shark Tank, the education I got there. Because the last thing I wanted to do was go on a show and get more clothing companies. I had 10 clothing companies, 8 were dead. I didn't want socks. Because I had 1 million units of socks already in my warehouse of FUBU socks. So if I want to sell more, I had to sneak into your house and steal one out of your laundry. Last thing I wanted was socks.
So
that's where the missing sock came from, huh? Daymond's been coming in and stealing them.
I knew there was a sock thief somewhere. I knew it.
Kendra, I'm busy.
Well, Kendra, this brings up a good point in sort of coming in and joining the Sharks and guesting and coming in as an investor as well. What was that process like for you, and what made you decide to take that step?
Well, first of all, like I mentioned, the show was so inspiring to me. And so to have the opportunity to be on the other side of it and be able to invest in other entrepreneurs now that I'm capable to do that was something I was so excited about doing. I was an absolute nervous wreck the first time I met the Sharks. And we were in COVID. It was season 12, actually. And I remember we were all in masks and I had to go down. And I mean, just shaking from the inside. Everybody was so nice. Mark Cuban's like, oh, Dallas, Texas.
No, I was not.
Daymond, you were so nice.
I said that. I was like, golly.
No, you were so nice. Daymond was nice. I think he complimented me on my shoes. But then I got to Kevin O'Leary, okay? And I was like, hi, Kevin. They're like, introduce me. And he goes, I'm going to chew you up and spit you out in 1 million pieces. That's what he said. Do you remember this, Clay? And I smiled under my mask and I was like, ooh, that sounds like fun. I can't wait. And immediately that broke the ice and he's like, all right, we're going to have fun. And it was so much fun and it was such an amazing experience, and the friendship, the camaraderie, and just how much we all care so much for the entrepreneurs on the show is so real, and we feel for them. We want them to be successful. We want their pitch to go well. I mean, truly, we're all rooting for them. Even though we're sharks, right? We all really care so much that they're going to have a great experience. And think about the exposure that these brands get. Even if they don't get an investment, I can see so many companies that have come off the show and had great success because of that exposure. So it really is something so special, and I was so honored and privileged to be a part of it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And Justin, again, is proof of that. Take us back to when you first sort of put together your pitch and maybe advice you have for folks who are preparing their big moment.
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to over prepare, right? And it's a whole process. It's not like you're like, oh, we go on the show the next day. I mean, we found out we made it to the second round, and then it was like 4 months of meeting with the producers, like updating on the business, and then they fly you to LA and you're there and you're they film the whole season in 2 weeks, right? So you have 60 companies there and you can't say a word about anything except for like, it's a nice day outside. And so you're nervous. And But we were super over prepared, and then on Monday we went and filmed for the episode, and we watched every episode, right? We watched every episode multiple times, and you're running your business, you're trying to get things going, and you're watching every episode preparing for what we called like the Super Bowl of entrepreneurship, and we knew that Mark in college used to rip off fancy bottles, labels from fancy bottles of champagne and put them on cheap ones.
No, I did not. I just bought the cheap ones.
Well, he bought the cheap ones, but he put expensive labels on them, so they looked
Allegedly.
expensive. But we knew so many things about the Sharks, that they were very impressed with when we were in there, and we watched ourselves, we filmed ourselves answering questions before we went on, and watched the way, not just the way we answered them, but our body language, like down to everything, so that when we were in there, we were just on the offensive, because it's chaotic, right?
Well, let's just explain what the offensive was. They were like, okay, these things are strong, right? When you drink them, they're 11% alcohol, and we didn't know any better, right?
Yeah.
And I'm just sipping and sipping. I'm like, oh my
Was this
God.
the
these
last-
guys
$1 million,
sound
that sounds
better.
like a good deal. Let's
Was
do
this
it.
the last pitch of the day or the first pitch?
It was right around,
remember.
I think it was around noon, and they put you in this
wasn't on
trailer, and we're there for like
I wish
3
I was.
hours, waiting, so nervous, and then the producers come like, all right, we gotta go, let's go, and it's crazy. It was awesome though.
So the advice is to get the Sharks drunk. basically.
Always
Give
works.
them alcohol.
But it
That
would be the
always
first
works.
time.
No, I would say
Yeah, it would be the first time.
I think-
absolutely over prepare. Just
And
prepare.
a lot of people don't do that, and that is an excellent point.
The Sharks, I would say over the years, we've learned that they do like occasionally to have a drink.
Shark water.
end of every day.
And I would also say that if you have a food product, they love to eat.
Except
True
dairy
Sharks,
for-
feed
except for
them
dairy
or
more.
give them a drink, and if you're feeding them something really amazing, they're going to be happy.
Well, one season we had these thing called wired waffles, and these had some kind of energy in them,
Yeah, the caffeine.
and we kept caffeine in them.
Caffeinated waffles.
Huh?
Caffeinated waffles.
And we were eating them, and then we were like, so tell me your numbers, I'll come get them. I mean, it was...
That's the craziest thing. Things you would never do in your normal life that you would just consider insane. We do it just like, because why not? What was the squirrel zapper?
Squirrel zapper. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a zapper for squirrels who were trying to get your bird food or whatever, and then the guy was hitting the button, and we were all just going up being zapped.
It was zapping ourselves and like,
By the way, we get, tens of thousands, like 20,000 submissions every year, and a lot of it is food, and we have to try it all during casting.
It's horrible.
Yeah.
It's such a horrible
I
thing.
mean, it sounds good, but sometimes I actually got a nosebleed once from drinking something, and
It wasn't beatbox.
So that person doesn't move forward.
And-
then.
almost,
and-
yeah.
and you do
So
not want to
you
give
said
that
no to
company
that
did
one.
not move forward.
And for some reason or another, Cuban has a dairy or lactose problem, and I'll
I make them all
I'll see him scarfing down something. I'm like, wait a minute, wait a minute, that has lactose in it. Wait a minute, and then all of a sudden the person's wondering why I'm looking at him going,
no, but I do burp.
This business-
No, that is not true.
something about this business doesn't
But you give me
smell
anything-
right.
No, but the best is you give me anything carbonated, Barbara goes nuts if you burp, right? Just goes nuts. So I'll drink something carbonated, just the whole time, and she just freaks out. But I do not. No, Damon's lying.
Wait, Damon, is that why you're on the other side of the
That's why
requested
we
to be
need
on
to
the opposite
separate
side.
those two. Well, let's talk a little bit more about season 14 and some of the entrepreneurs that you did select. What was your impression of the crop this year, and what stood out, and what were you excited to bring to the show?
Well, as I said about the food pitches, how we get to taste everything, and there's a company that came in. Well, first of all, I'll start with the dream entrepreneur for us has three things. One is it's a product that has some kind of unique angle. So if you just have a regular pancake company, it's likely that you're not going to get on. It has to have something else. Second is that the entrepreneur is charismatic. It's just somebody that has some kind of energy. And third, at the end of the day, television is about storytelling, and we look at every business as a story, whether the story of their entrepreneurial journey or the story of the business. And so we had a company called Long Table Pancakes, and they came in, and it was a pancake, but it was made with popcorn, so it was lighter and fluffier, and it was whole grain, and it was healthy. And we tasted it, and it was incredible. So it was like, that's the first hurdle. And then the entrepreneur had an incredible story, and it was related. It was timely as well because he had a theater company, a small theater company that was completely shut down because of the pandemic. And so he found himself, like not being able to support his family, and he had a little side hustle selling these pancake mixes at farmers markets. And I think the whole time that he was in business, it was like years and years. I think he made $30,000 in total in like over 5 years at farmers markets. And then he found himself in this tough situation. And then he had a friend who said, "You should go on Shark Tank." That friend happened to be David Schwimmer. And it was, this is not something that we set up. This is all natural and organic, and they were friends from the theater company. And so he came and pitched. David Schwimmer said, "I'll help you hand out the pancakes," and so it was a surprise to everyone, and he comes out.
And the dude was weird. He was a weird dude.
He was an incredible person.
His wife did. But it had it all. Like his wife was an acrobat. She came down and did acrobatics.
Did the centipede thing leaving, but
and then they did the human centipede rolling out. I mean, it had it all. It was crazy.
that freaked Mark out, I think.
No, it was a great pitch. I mean, he did a great job. Great product.
Yes, and
Great
at the end of the
product. Guy was
day,
different.
nobody invested, and we're always surprised. We're like, "Oh, the Sharks are going to hate this. They're going to love this," and we never know. We have no idea what these guys are going to do. And that company walked out without a deal, but still, his business has been transformed because of the opportunity.
So to add to that, David Schwimmer, his friend, and he says, "I'm here to have somebody that's going to support me." So David Schwimmer kept Samuel was the entrepreneur's name, and Samuel is a great guy, by the way, and a great person. I read all the applications. We read all the applications of these people, and his was the most honest I'd ever seen. He just had a baby, he and his wife. He had no job, and this was like it. I have to make this work. And David Schwimmer was one of the people that he had early on served his pancakes to and said, "These are amazing." And he kept telling him, "You got to pitch this on Shark Tank." And Samuel was like, no, I can't do it. And finally, David said, "Listen, if you apply for Shark Tank, I promise you if you get on, I'll come in and give a testimonial for you." And that's what convinced Samuel to do it. So we tried the pancakes. Best I've ever had. They're instead of whole grain, they're made out of popcorn, the grain, and they're light and fluffy and delicious and amazing. So he comes on the show, he does his pitch, introduces David. David comes in pushing a waffle cart, do. And Gwyneth Paltrow, our guest shark for that year, is on there, and she and David did a film together, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, David Schwimmer!" Like, they said they don't know anything that's coming in. It's all authentic. None of this was set up. None of this was made. It's authentic because authentic makes the best television for people like us. So she's like, "Oh my gosh!" They have this moment. They hug, and he's like, "Yeah." And she's like, "I haven't seen you in so long." He says, "Yes, your life obviously. You've got Goop. It's a $600 million company, and I push a waffle cart now." So, and he was endearing and amazing, and he stood there next to Samuel and said, "Listen, I want you to try these waffles. They're amazing. He's my friend. I don't have any skin in the game. There's no value for me to be here other than I want to say that he's an incredible person, and these pancakes are incredible, and good luck." And he walks out. So Samuel, all the sharks taste it, and they all collectively say, "Best pancake I've ever had."
It was good. Yeah.
So then I see Samuel after the pitch, and he's like, "Oh, he really needed a deal. He really wanted the deal." And we spoke a few months later after he had found out it was going to air, and he was nervous, as you would expect, and he had plans to, I'm gonna put all this money in and get all this so I have enough merchandise to sell. So I have enough. And I was like, "You need to be careful. It's a commodity. It's a higher price point than a regular pancake. It's worth it. But what you've got going for you is you've got David Schwimmer coming in saying, 'These are the best pancakes I've ever eaten. I make the waffles for my daughter every Saturday morning. That's how much I love them, and she loves them.' And he came on and basically gave a testimonial for you. And every one of the sharks said, 'It's the best pancake I've ever had.' But don't, overextend yourself. That would be, it's you to do what you want, but this is my advice. I would hate to see you buy a lot of inventory and then not sell it all." And he's like, "Okay, thank you for the advice. I got a plan." So the night that his show airs, right? America's big country. We've got 4 time zones. He's on the East Coast. He sold out of all of his product, $250,000 worth, before his pitch finished airing on the East Coast.
Wow.
He now has over $1 million in those delicious pancakes.
We'll be doing an update next season.
Wow. I don't watch the show when I'm not on it because I get anxiety and I want to call and be part of the deals. Did he get a deal?
He did not get a deal.
He didn't
And
even
a
get
great
an offer.
Wait,
He didn't even
Daymond,
get an
maybe
offer.
we could call him or
But
something.
I mean, look at the reality of the show. Everybody loved it. He didn't get a deal. But Kevin bought potatoes that you mail, and he bought a company that you draw a cat. You see how you
You made a lot of money off those cats.
You understand how crazy this is?
Well, one other question. Hold up. We're missing the larger picture, which is David Schwimmer has friends money. Why did he not invest
Well,
in this company?
that was the question I asked.
I like that. I think
Because
we
you
should
don't
call it. I
loan
think we should
friends
call it
money.
now.
You don't loan
That's
friends
the
money.
rule.
Remember, he's now pushing a waffle cart.
Well, this season you had a number of guest sharks. You mentioned Gwyneth Paltrow. You also did a live episode. What sort of, you smile. What was that experience like?
Crazy.
I'm going to just have a real quick, brief comment, and then I'm going to turn it over to these guys because it was challenging, but it was fun. It was a lot of fun, and we worked very hard. And when I say we, it's our crew, our staff, everybody put a lot of time and effort to prepare for that because we'd never done anything like it. We didn't know if it would work, but I think everybody rose to the occasion. I was really proud of what we accomplished with it.
It was fun. The energy in the room was insane. Everybody, we were excited, but it wasn't real Shark Tank because we couldn't always ask questions because you were set to a schedule. It was live, right? And so that changed it a little bit. But the energy that was in the
great,
room
yeah.
was insane.
I got to be in the audience because I was like backup in case one of the sharks stepped on a banana peel. And which, not that I would have planted a
You
banana
can throw
peel.
bananas out there the whole
I wouldn't do that. But I was in the audience, which was really cool perspective. Is I got to sit in there and feel the energy of the audience. Then of course, knowing these guys and knowing the whole thing, and it was really fun, and it was very different than a typical thing. Because I obviously know what that's like, but it was really unique, and I think the audience members just had a ball. I mean, they were having the time of their lives. But it was definitely dynamic.
It was a great kickoff to season 14 because it felt like a party. It was a celebration, and it was a lot of fun. But it wasn't Shark Tank because, each business that comes in, they're in for 45 minutes to an hour, and then we cut it down to 10 minutes, to 12 minutes. And so these guys, these are real investments. This is their real money. And so they didn't have the time
we had to rush through everything.
drill
and that
down. It was just chaotic. It was fun, but it wasn't the heart and the core of what the show really is.
Think about that. How many cameras do you have shooting? 16?
No. Only 14.
14. So think about what they deal with. 14 hours of footage for you to see 8 minutes. Think about what they have to go through. That's how a show was made. Again, we get the joy of sitting there and doing what we do. But it's a real city that does this and brings out these entrepreneurs with real accuracy, because this is people's livelihood and businesses at risk. They have a big responsibility. The show wouldn't last those years if you went on and you made fun of people or you went out of your way to hurt them because you wanted ratings. These are real people that care.
Well, and the timing, obviously, to sort of celebrate coming out of the pandemic too, and obviously how that impacted small businesses, and this is something that Shark Tank is here to sort of highlight. Daymond, you mentioned sort of the ups and downs of the world, and clearly, the impact of the pandemic was felt particularly by business. So Shark Tank is in a really unique place to highlight that. And
Shark Tank wouldn't even be on if the producers didn't think entrepreneurially by seeing all of what we're doing, because what happened was Mark had already known that a bubble was being created in Vegas. He talked to the producers, and the producers themselves and Sony all worked it out. Well, we were one of the first shows we were probably the first show to shoot, right? Shoot during the pandemic, because we traded off and had the Venetian. I'm roller skating around in the Venetian in my underwear because nobody else is in there, right? In a pandemic,
bizarre.
right?
They said that they wanted you had to be like in your room. for like
Yeah,
a long
and
time
so we
before
were
you
the-
get
we were the
tested.
one of the
And there
only
were
shows-
butlers outside.
Yeah, we
They
couldn't
weren't
leave the
butlers. It
rooms.
was like you couldn't leave.
We
it was
were in a
security.
prison.
They were, yeah, exactly.
But it was because of them behind the cameras thinking entrepreneurially to bring this message out to America that we're going to make it through this.
It was awesome.
It was you guys in the NBA, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it was
It's
Mark's the
connected,
reason
yeah.
that we were able to pull it off. Go ahead, tell him, Mark.
What did I do?
I called you up and I was talking to you. And I was like, because we normally tape in June, and we were going to have to push. This was 2020, right? So the pandemic had hit, and I called Mark and said, okay. I called, updating everybody. Here's what we're doing. And Mark's like, oh. And I mentioned we're even considering maybe shooting outside of Culver City at the Sony studios where we tape, and maybe we'll go out of California. And he said, oh,
Vegas. Yep.
you should go to Vegas.
I know somebody owns a hotel and it's empty, and let's work with them. And it's similar to what the NBA had done with Orlando and Disney. So we talked to Disney first, couldn't make that work, and ended up at the Venetian. And literally, we were the only people in there.
We're the only people in it. So think about how much can you get I can't barely get my own company to work like this. You have Kendra back up for a live show. You got Mark handing over the NBA. You have everybody working collectively to do this. Like, it just is something that is so amazing to be part of,
It was incredible that we were able to do that. And again, thank you to Mark for pointing us in the right direction. And the pandemic had such a huge impact on all businesses everywhere. We heard about Samuel, whose theater business shut down and was out of work. And what we're seeing now, you see it in season 14, is we have companies that come on that were created because of the pandemic, and I'm not talking about like masks or we have cleansing products or stuff like that, but just an idea that somebody came up with because they were locked down and they were thinking of things and they wanted to come up with something and they wanted to be proactive and they wanted to be successful and try and help people out of this situation. And we see those all the time. You'll see, we're now casting for our 15th season, and you'll be seeing those type of companies on season 15 as well. But we had them in season 14. And again, as we've said, the pitches that come on and the people and the ideas, they mirror what's happening in our society. Right, and that's again why the show, I believe, can go on for another 14 seasons or more.
I got one thing last thing, because I really don't want to overtake this. But Clay, remember that season, the pandemic season? Remember when it was hard to say no because the contestants couldn't fly on a plane. Right. They had to drive themselves in from anywhere in the country and stay in a room for 2 weeks. That's 2 weeks by themselves, not speaking to anybody. They get in the elevator, they come down, ding, and the sharks are right there. That person will never fail in business, ever.
It was incredible.
It was amazing.
Think about that person. You want to drive from New York to Las Vegas with your family, stay in a room for 2 weeks
couldn't
for
bring your
maybe
family.
a shot.
Not your family.
Couldn't bring your family.
No, you
Not
couldn't
their
bring
family.
anybody.
Not even your okay, maybe that's a plus. But to not even promise that you're going to get a shot, and then you got to drive back. Think about driving back with going, did Kevin O'Leary say I'm dead to him?
Shoot it behind the barn? Did he say that?
Well, he wasn't saying that anymore at that point.
No.
What, did Kevin O'Leary say,
No.
you're the cockroach of whatever you are?
The pandemic cockroach.
Pandemic cockroach.
So moving forward now, as you're seeing sort of the everyone sort of coming out of the pandemic, what were some of what impressed you or what sort of surprised you the most about the entrepreneurs in season 14 for the Sharks?
I mean, for me being on the show for this season, I had so much fun. I really got to see, again, how entrepreneurship grew over the last few years and how so many of these folks that were home may have had even just as a side hustle. And they were able to spend more time on it. And, one of the things I invested in was Create a Castle. And it's Lori and Kevin, these amazing couple. He grew up with his parents who made cake molds. She was a baker. And he saw these cake molds and he thought he was out with his kids and they were building sandcastles together and they were doing things as a family more. And he created this product, right? Within that's this new innovation of how to build a sandcastle. And, and they're here together as a husband and wife wanting to build a business together, wanting to be able to continue to spend more time together, do something that they both love and enjoy, and bring people joy in the process. And for me, that was like amazing. And that was one of the things that I invested in this season. I just loved it. And they're doing incredible things, continuing to grow. But I think that's what's exciting to see, is that it didn't just, not only did it, entrepreneurship was still there, it actually exploded post-pandemic. So I think, the 20,000 people that have applied, I bet we see that even, increasing even more, because there is such a huge entrepreneurship spirit out there in the world right now.
And how about you two? What impressed you about the entrepreneurs this season? And anything that sort of stood out among the folks you saw?
It's always the same thing. An entrepreneur, a real entrepreneur, is not getting up there because they want to make money. They want to solve a problem that they felt that somebody else was going to solve, and they decide to do it themselves. And what impresses me often is the vulnerability of entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship is not about being tough. It's about getting out, saying, I know this. If you know any way that you can help me, we can work together, and I can add value to you, let's do it. I lost on that deal. But I want you,
Sorry,
but
not
then
sorry.
one of my companies, we're the ones who did the plastic and the molds for her, for that. Because at the end of the day, it's about entrepreneurship. My favorite one is a young kid who realized that he's going to UCLA, the highest, really, really doing amazing. And he created something called Slimy Honey, which is a little with it looks like cakes, but it's a slime, but for people with anxiety. I mean, the kid has $700,000 in the bank. He's still in school, not coming from.
He was like 17 years old.
Yeah,
right?
not 17 years old, running that business, and he's caring more about the anxiety that people are going through. And that's the American dream. It is a person who's coming up saying, "I don't care about me." Do enough homeless people have, socks? Do people are suffering from stress? The families want to build castles and be together and have a fun way of relating to their children, right? That is infectious. There's a true entrepreneur in there that's going to be successful, like everybody in this room. They tell you about the train that's going to leave the station. They want you on the train, but if you're not going to be on the train, no problem. This train is leaving the station regardless. I'll allow you to be part of my dream if you're going to add value. And that's the most amazing thing, the most amazing feeling ever, to be part of someone else's dream.
I think what impressed me the most was the diversity of the entrepreneurs, that they didn't all look a certain way. They came from different backgrounds, different ethnicities, different colors. All of them had their own origin story. And some of the most exciting businesses we saw started in places you never would expect a business to start. And I think that's what continues to impress me, that we're reaching into communities where you don't particularly expect a lot of entrepreneurship. But the producers, Clay and you work really, really hard to make sure that everybody's represented, because the best deals aren't the ones that are easy to find. The best deals are the ones that are hard to find and come from places that most investors don't look. And that's really was the most exciting part for me.
Yeah, I think the sheer just also variety of not only people pitching, but also just concepts and what the entrepreneurs are pitching. I mean, some things are the classic, like, why didn't I think of that? That's genius. Yeah. And then, of course, there's the crazy things that they come in, you're like, what the F is this? But then by the end, sometimes you guys are bidding.
You just never know. I want to draw a cat for you. You just, it can be the craziest thing, and I'll look for things like that. What on the outside might look as crazy might reflect a really special skill that you can take and turn into something more. Like the I want to draw a cat for you guy, who cares about drawing cats? I mean, even though getting paid $30, I got paid like $1,000 a cat drawing. It was insane. But he was really good at social and SEO. And back when he came on, that was something unique and different. And so sometimes you find the skill set behind the business and you say, okay, that's somebody that I can partner with and not only help their business grow, but also take them into new areas.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Is there a particular pitch that still stands out to either three of you? I mean, Kendra, you mentioned one, but from season 14 that maybe folks should go back and rewatch online?
Yeah, Peter Jones and I did one, Callers & Co., and entrepreneur's name was Justin. And the guy was good. He was really, really good. And he came in, now because the show's been on so long, the entrepreneurs sometimes try to game the system.
Oh, that guy.
Yeah. So they'll come in, I want $1 million for 0.00073%.
Yeah.
And you're like, come on, man.
And my valuation is $150 million. You're
I know,
like,
with my
what?
$16 in sales. But Justin came on with Collars & Co., and he had, what it is, it's kind of a dress shirt, a golf shirt, a polo shirt, but the collars never fray and never get loose, right? So any of us who have worn polos, you know that over some point in time, the collar starts going this way and gets all out of whack. Well, they harden the collars so that you can wear it all the time and it always looks fresh and clean. You can wear it under a sports coat. You can wear it under a sweater, and it's short sleeve. And I put it on. I was like, ooh, this is great. And I could really see myself wearing this, but his valuation was insane. So Peter and I double teamed him. And fortunately, Peter was on the show because his pitch was, I can help take you global. My pitch was, I can increase your margins and help sell a lot more because I'll wear them and talk about them. And now the business globally is just insane. I mean, I don't even know the total amount of money he'll do in sales this year because it keeps on going up. It'll be 20 million plus, but he's insanely profitable too. And so all these things, sometimes the deal's great, the entrepreneur's great, but you don't quite come to a meeting of the minds. But then they start to realize we're up there for a reason because Daymond's background is special, Kendra's background is special, Peter's background is special, my background has unique elements, and the combination of the two creates something really insanely good. And I'm sure there's going to be an update, but what he's been able to do between Peter and I has just been off the charts.
Yeah, that's the best part, right, Justin? That there is updates.
Yeah,
and
we
that
had
you
one
get
in
to be-
season 14.
Yeah, I was about to say. So, to be able to showcase how far you've come.
Yeah. I mean, we had our update in season 14, and it was just crazy to watch it. It's like within 2 minutes, you capture nearly 10 years of just the ups and the downs, right? It's like you go on the show and you get this amazing deal with Mark, and people think, you've made it. That's it, right? I remember doing tastings 6 months after the show in a grocery store on Easter weekend where I drove down and was doing tastings, and people were like, "Why are you doing this with this look that I should be on an island drinking a pina colada after getting an investment, 6 months ago?" And that's when the business started. That's when the real work starts.
That's showtime.
Yeah, and no one wants to be the company, as Brad, my co-founder, always says, no one wants to be the company that got $1 million from Mark on Shark Tank and didn't make it. So
Trust me, I don't want that either.
Yeah. And so and Mark's had a front row seat to the number of times where we've thought it's over. We're not going to make it. Like
That's where Brad and Justin deserve a ton of credit.
And Amy too.
And Amy too, because no business, no startup goes in a straight line from start to immense success. There are always ups and downs, and they had their share of downs. And I'm not going to lie, there were times when I thought they were dead.
Oh yeah.
And they were just going to use their product to drink it. And by the way, Beatbox beverage, it's really, really,
really good. You can find it at any local store near you across all 50
Always
states.
be selling. But they did. They fought back from the dead multiple times.
Figured it out, yeah. And then to see it all within 2 minutes on the update and to hear, the emails we get, and it's a built-in platform, a built-in commercial for us, and it's amazing. And we just shared it yesterday at our kickoff meeting with our new wholesaler in Austin. Like, we're still using Shark Tank so much. It validated us as entrepreneurs. It validated the business. And it's just been absolutely, I can't thank Shark Tank enough. It's changed my life, Brad's life, Amy's life, and 130 employees that are having the time of their lives bringing fun and togetherness and inclusion through alcohol. But the brand is so much bigger than that, right?
That works at UT, that's for sure.
Yeah, bringing people together and having great times, and Shark Tank has.
While we talk about that, one of my entrepreneurs who just happens to work with me is right here. We, a lot of times as investors, we don't have the right to judge you. We have the right to judge if it works for us, because a lot of things that I would fail on. Lori, shout out to my other sharks. Kevin O'Leary is honestly a nice guy. Lori has some of the top selling products in Shark Tank history. A lot of them because she is the flea market of Shark Tank. If it's plastic and under $50, she's going to sell it. Scrub Daddy, Squatty Potty, the little thing I don't know, I own all of them. I bought them all. You know, the thing that slips on the side of the thing. But, you know, I was brought together with someone who's come now, one of my closest friends. His name is Maury Chawaki. He was on the show. He works for me now, but he came on with something called the Hanukkah Tree Topper. It's for a family who has mixed religion, you know, obviously 2 faiths in there, right? And I realized that I have a Jewish stepfather came in my life when I was 16, and I didn't realize why I loved it. Maury's right here. Stand up and say hello to everybody, Maury.
Yeah, Maury, yeah.
Right? But it's always about bringing people together, what happens on the show. And we've just become really a family. And I think that's the critical aspect of why we do these things.
Well, congratulations on season 14, everyone. It's you know, a show that still so resonates, and again, you know, I watch it with my kids. It is something that one of the few shows that is multi-generational and really inspiring. And congrats again to all of you. Season 14, go back and rewatch it if you haven't yet.
Yep.
But in the meantime, Shark Tank, everyone.
Thank you.